get started with the keynoter, Mr. Tony Bachman, Tony Bachman, Team Keller Williams, and he put out some kind of graph this morning. What's that about?
I was not only trying to give you information, but I was actually trying to give you pictures too, because I've read that where people have pictures, they tend to assimilate the information a little better. So then when I came in to ask you about it, you said, "Oh, I haven't seen it yet." So,
well, actually, I printed it, and you were telling Luetke that between the two of us, maybe we'd understand the pictures.
Yeah, this wasn't where I was going with it, but okay.
All right, tell us what the numbers mean and what the chart means.
Well, number one, I just wanted to talk about, in reference to what we were talking about, our numbers, our housing report. I mean, and then that a lot of times the trends are when we get into the fall or later fall, we tend to see things drop off. All I can tell you is anything that we look at as past trends are out the window. They don't apply to anything that we're doing in today's world when it comes to real estate. With what's happening out there in the marketplace, I mean, there was just a number of little tidbits there where you're like, wow, this is amazing. I mean, we're talking that sellers are getting basically just about 100% for their list price. They're at 99.4%.
That's pretty big.
It is, yeah. And last year it was still good. I mean, we've been in this really positive market for a long time, but last year they were at like 98%. Well, actually it was 98.3. We're at 99.4. I don't know how long we could get, we still got 0.6 tenths to achieve to get there, but we're seeing that reflected in the average median price also. That average median price has increased, substantially from, over the last, few months. I mean, with that, we're looking at right now, the average median price is $236,000, compared to last year at this time was $209,900.
And that's territory-wide. That's not just Sioux Falls, correct?
No, that's just our MLS.
Yes.
That's just our MLS. Yeah. I know I kind of switched from national to local, but I'm talking primarily local.
I was bringing you back. Larry was kind of like looking at me like he isn't king of that yet.
So yeah, I mean, so numbers wise, and then I think the other thing that really stood out is reference to new listings were down just about 9% from last year in reference to August or September's listings. But here's the thing that really is just like a wow number where it's like, oh, this is amazing, is that pending sales, we're up just about 80% in pending sales from last year in August to this year in August, which means there's a lot of pressure on that inventory. And that also relates to the fact that month's supply of inventory on the marketplace right now, last year at this time, there was 5.1 months of inventory, meaning that at that time, if another house didn't come on the market and at the speed that people were buying homes, they would have had, in 5 months, we'd run out of inventory. That was last year. This year at this time, we're at 2.7 months.
So if you got a house to sell, it's not a bad time.
Got to go. Yeah, it's going to happen. So now we're back to the conversation of we can sell your house. You're going to get top dollar. Now we have to, the strategy really comes in. And I mean, yes, there's strategy in selling a house, but now it's what's the next move?
Perez, what do you think? Is this where we're at? This where we're going?
No, I agree. Like usually, typically, if you look at a buyer's market's in under 3 months of inventory, or a seller's market 3 months under inventory. So we're truly in a seller's market right now, and you typically have 3 to 6 months as a normal market. Anything above 6 months, then you're into a buyer's market. So we are definitely going down that trend.
And for those that feel that they ought to be selling their house, they have to have some place to go.
Yeah, and it's kind of different this year because typically in a presidential election year, it's usually July or a little bit after that for 3 or 4 months. It kind of slows down quite a bit, and we haven't seen that at all.
Again, all past trends are out the window.
Yeah.
In reference to, if you are banking on the fact that something's going to happen because of this, no, we're full steam ahead.
I'm a little nervous about January then, because that's usually after presidential election. That's when it really cranks into gear. So it could be a really busy winter.
Well, I think the pressure is going to be, and is the fact that, you have a lot of people who, maybe they're not going to list just because they get into the holidays. I mean, they don't want to upend their family. They don't have to. I mean, and actually the holidays are a great time to list because people really appreciate, the decorations and some of the smells and that sort of thing. So you really can, benefit by marketing your house at that time. But we also see a trend where people say, we'll just wait until after the holidays. but we just keep seeing this pressure of buyers wanting to buy. And so you're going to see even more pressure in reference to our inventory levels potentially going down.
Last 2 or 3 months, you've talked about the number of people that want to move here from a South Carolina, a Minnesota, a Texas, name any of 20 other states. They got to sell their homes, and they can't sell as quickly there as they can buy here.
You know, I'm not so sure. I mean, there's certain areas that's the case, but when you look at trends across the United States, they're still, I mean, their pending sales in those areas are fairly high also because of the interest rates. So, yeah, there's a few areas that the markets have been affected, but, you know, you get outside some of the immediate metro areas and they're suburban. You know, there was a case in point that I'd shared with the office where I'd seen an article that they had a home that went on the market. It was in a suburban town in New York. They had 29 showings in one day. Well, no, it was like 29 offers. They had just basically set up a conga line, and people just
a showing can be Zoom right now.
Yeah, and they had 29 offers. So they ended up getting close to $60,000 over list. It was a cash offer, and you know, but that was in New York. So people were probably trying to get out of the immediate, you know, New York metropolitan, get into a suburb. So we're seeing people from all over. Larry, I don't know. What do you've probably had
one
some
thing you have
people.
to look at too is income. So a lot of these bigger cities, they make a lot more money than the average
if they're still on
South
the job.
Dakotan. Right, correct. So I mean, you look at they might be making $500,000 to $1 million where you can come pay cash for some of these properties, which is what's been happening. I know we had a reporter reach out to us this last week for the exact same question you just brought up, and there's been a lot of builders that have been getting, you know, people from all over the nation that have been building with them. So it is happening. There are quite a few people moving here from elsewhere.
And I'd just seen last week where I had 2 people that contacted me that they're looking at just investing in real estate here, just for the fact that they like what's going on. They see, you know, what's happening in South Dakota, and they're very pro-business, and they're thinking, hey, we're going to take some of our funds, and we're going to take a 1031, and we're going to come out to South Dakota and buy some investment real estate. And they're not talking about just buying one. They're talking about buying multiple units.
All right, last 30 seconds from you before we get the other prayers on the phone here.
It's amazing market to be in. Amazing market. I mean, but I think that, you know, not only are we real estate brokers or agents, but we're information brokers. And that's part of the reason I'm here, and part of the conversations that we typically have around real estate is the fact that it's incumbent upon us to make sure that we're providing as much information as we possibly can to our buyers and sellers. And I feel that when we do that, it all makes sense. And even though that might be tight in a certain sector or whatever, or a market, we can still make things happen for people as long as everybody's got a realistic expectation of how soon it can happen and when.
Tony Bachman, Team Keller Williams. Appreciate the keynote.
Thank you, Bill. I appreciate you having me here today.